Following several years that saw record numbers of cruise ships being removed from service and sold to be scrapped, dismantled, never carrying passengers again, 2023 has taken a very different turn. And I'm wondering, are we running out of cruise ships? Let's roll the intro. Welcome to the Midships channel. It's your Captain Corey. Thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. And we're asking the question, are we running out of cruise ships? The answer, quite possibly yes. Following the cruise shutdown and a year operating at limited capacities, cruise lines were left scrambling to find the money to keep operating. And one of the best ways for them to do that, besides firing everybody and not having a big payroll, which unfortunately happened, well, one of the best ways was to sell off all kinds of assets. And many of those assets, their most valuable ones, as a matter of fact, were their cruise ships. For instance, Carnival Corporation sold 6 cruise ships between 2020 and 2022. 6. And that may not seem like a huge deal to you, considering they were older ships, and Carnival is still operating at a fleet size of 25 with 2 new ships on the way in the next couple of years. However, if you've cruised recently, you know the demand is higher than ever and cruise ship occupancy is soaring, well over 100%, leading a lot of people to question, did the cruise lines screw up big time by selling off 38 cruise ships between 2020 and 2022? The question really boils down to, did they sell too many ships? And the answer, it's complicated, but the long story short is that may be exactly the case here. Now, one could argue that, well, if you didn't sell the ships and you didn't have the money to operate, you'd be out of business, so you wouldn't have a cruise line. And that, my friend, is a very valid argument, and I'm glad you thought of it before I did. But hindsight being 2020, everybody likes to Monday morning quarterback, myself included. Just looking at how busy every cruise has been that I've been on in 2023, I can tell you from firsthand experience after a dozen or so sailings this year alone, every cruise ship is too darn busy. There's too many people and too few crew members and not enough spaces for everything to happen on cruise ships right now. There's too few rooms available. And I think the great cruise ship scrapping of 2020 through 22 is a large part of the blame for that. And the reason that I make this argument is because last year in 2022, 18 cruise ships were sent to be dismantled and scrapped and sold off for parts to the recycling yards all around the world. But now in 2023, that number is vastly different. And I'm going to share it with you in about 15 seconds, right after I remind you that if you got a cruise on the books, or you just want to help support my work on this channel in a super easy and convenient way, well, why don't you head on over to the Midships Amazon store and check out all of my favorite cruise essentials and my custom designed cruise t-shirts like this one, hoodies, tank tops, men's, women's, children's, all kinds of great stuff in there. There's a link in the description down below. You can directly support my work financially by literally just shopping on Amazon. I greatly appreciate all of you that do just that every month. So as I was saying, last year, 18 cruise ships were sent to the scrappers. But this year, 2023, the cruise industry found out that they might have made a pretty big mistake doing that. And so in 2023, the breaking yards of the world have received 0 cruise ships for scrapping. And this is the signal that the cruise industry knows they desperately need more ships, and they need them fast. Which is why all of your favorite cruise lines have ships on order right now. Ships on ships on ships. That's why Royal Caribbean is building bigger and bigger. That's why Carnival is building bigger and bigger. Oh, MSC's doing it too. Now these cruise lines, they don't have enough rooms, which leads into the next problem for you, for me, for anybody that cruises. Simple economics. The economics of there not being enough cruise ships to meet the current demands. That means your next cruise is likely to cost a noticeable amount more or be a noticeable amount worse. And if you say, well, Corey, that's not totally the case. I booked a Royal Caribbean cruise last year. It was like $1,600. This year, it was about the same price. And it was a similar cruise. It cost about the same. What are you talking about? Well, that upfront cost might not have changed. What's changed is the quality of your experience. That's likely changed. The quality, the amount of food, the food on offerings, that's likely changed. And the amount of times your cabin is being serviced, well, that's definitely changed. That's been cut in half. So it's little things like this that all add up to make the experience, well, wholeheartedly a lot worse than it used to be. And it all points to, well, the same problem. Cruise lines aren't able to get enough people on board. There's more demand than there is supply right now. You're having to pay extra for things on board like Wi-Fi, daily gratuities. These have all skyrocketed in price. All of these items are the cost increase that we're seeing in cruising, even if the ticket price seems to be remaining the same up front. And this is, well, during a time of inflation on land. So prices are up across the board for all of us anyways. But the problem is the cruise industry not only has to pay higher prices on land, they also know that they're going to have to charge probably a little bit more for things or cut back on board somewhere else because they just don't have enough supply to meet all of the demand right now. We are seeing nothing but record numbers in cruise travel. So to answer the question I asked in the intro to today's video, are we running out of cruise ships? Well, based on everything we've just talked about today, based on the information of how many cruise ships used to exist versus how many exist now, versus how many are on order, versus how they're not scrapping any, we're definitely in a shortage of cruise ships, and it's going to take some time for the shipyards to help catch us up with that inventory, to catch the inventory up to the demand, which is at, like I said, record highs for cruising. So it may take a few years, but we will probably eventually not be running out of cruise ships once again. But at the current moment, I think it's safe to say we've run out of ships. Somebody give a ship, right? So what do you think about all of this? Are we really running out of cruise ships? Do you think this is a temporary problem like I do for cruisers? Or is this something that we're probably going to be facing for a little bit longer in the wake of the cruise shutdowns? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comments down below. If you made it this far into today's episode, well, why don't you join the nearly 21,000 other subscribers here on the Midships family? I would love to have you here. I make all kinds of fun, interesting, and thought-provoking cruise-related content. While you're down there looking at the subscribe button, next to it, well, there's a thumbs up button, and that's the best way to tell YouTube that this was a darn good video and you think that some other people might want to see it as well. So maybe click on that for me too. Thank you so much. And thanks for stopping by the channel today. Until next time, well, we'll see you on the Midships. Gosh, I can't believe we're out of ships.
La 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 la.